Hi everyone. So welcome to the video introduction for Chapter 6 on the presidency. And one thing we will learn this chapter is that since the 1930s, the presidency has been the dominant branch of the US government. So review back to our discussion in Chapter 3 about federalism. So it was President Roosevelt during the New Deal who really changed the balance of power in federalism. So you saw a shift of power from the states to the national level, and we started seeing the use of grants and aid to convince states to carry out some of the national policy preferences set by the federal government. And at the same time, power was shifting from states to the national level. Within the national level, power was shifting from the Congress to the executive branch and the presidency. So the power of our modern presidency comes from, first, powers that are granted by the Constitution. And if you watch the first video after this one, it will give you a really good overview of what the Constitution says about the powers of the presidency. Also, laws made by Congress, because Congress has the power to make laws, but then the executive branch has the power to enforce laws. So every law that is made ends up giving some power to the executive branch in the enforcement of that law. A third source of power for the modern presidency comes from public opinion. And fourth, administrative strategies. These are strategies that allow presidents to achieve policy goals without congressional approval. So to see an exploration of that topic, I encourage you to watch the second video after this one. If nothing else, watch that video. It is funny. I laugh every time I see it. Okay, so those are some sources of presidential power. Let's also talk about how the president is selected. The United States system of choosing our executive is different from in a lot of countries. So our president is not directly elected by the people. He is elected by the Electoral College. And these procedures are explained in our Constitution. So in the original writing of the Constitution, state legislatures would appoint electors. So the number of electors for each state would be equal to the number of senators and representatives that state has in Congress. The electors could not be currently serving as senators or representatives. What they would do is meet in their respective states. The Electoral College did not meet in one central location. They didn't want manipulation of the votes. So each group of electors would meet in their own states, and they would cast votes for two people. One of them had to be from a different state. So the idea behind this was that they didn't want each of the 13 states just coming up with their favorite politician, but nobody who had any broad national appeal. So at least one of the two people that a state picks has to be from outside their state to kind of broaden the support. And then the votes are sent to the Senate to be counted. The way it worked originally is that the person whoever had the greatest number of votes became president, and whoever had the second greatest number of votes became vice president. So they didn't run as a team. They might not have the same policies. They might not even like each other. It was just whoever came in first, president, whoever came in second, vice president. So this is not quite the same way that we do it today. For one thing, starting in the 1800s, states started to choose their electors based on elections. So it wasn't just the state legislature choosing electors and then they would decide, but we have elections, and that's how it works today. So when you go to cast your vote, if you voted in the last presidential election, you didn't actually cast a vote for Donald Trump or for Hillary Clinton. If you read the fine print, it was electors for Donald Trump or electors for Hillary Clinton. So that is how we choose the people who go to the Electoral College and then do the voting for who is president. So one of the things that you can discuss on this week's discussion forum is this question of, should the Electoral College be abolished? You know, some people say we don't have the lack of communication between state to state these days, that it's really necessary to have an Electoral College. Why should it be abolished? Why should it not be abolished? So come up with some reasons and debate about that. So that's one good discussion topic. The other thing that you will notice, just from observation, from reading the chapter in the textbook, from the first video, is that presidential power has increased over time. So during the Obama administration, if you are a Republican, you probably had a very strong feeling that President Obama was abusing his power. He was going way beyond what the Constitution suggested a president should do. It turns out that he was not terribly different than any president who has gone before him. If you look at the trend over time, all of the presidents have done this. And so similarly, right now, if you are a Democrat, you are probably looking at the Trump administration and thinking the exact same thing, that this is outrageous. He is going beyond the Constitution. He is turning this into an imperial presidency. Again, when you look at the patterns over time, it's not terribly different than what presidents have done before him. So we've had this trend over time of presidents from both parties trying to increase the power that they have. So another topic that we can discuss on the forum, stepping back from answering based on whether you like or dislike our current president, think about this question. Is the rise of presidential power good for democracy? Why or why not? Does it make it easier or harder for voters to hold the president accountable, or the government as a whole accountable? So this is just a brief introduction, and I look forward to hearing what you will discuss on the forums. Take care.